I'm Christine Connor, the owner of Amelia Scott Designs, and today I'm going to take you off-road and we're going to make some other items with the designs out of this table runner pattern called Stars and Stripes. Now there are two parts to this video. Part one, I show you how to make this hot pad with the hat design. And I show you how you can take that hot pad design and add a couple more stripes and turn it into a placemat. And then here's a really fun thing. We're going to quilt it with all these little quilting designs. There are 3 free quilting designs that I'm going to give to you, and I'll tell you where to find those during the video. Now in this video, which is part 2, I'm going to show you how to make a coaster, and you can make it large, or I'll show you how to shrink everything so that it works out as a smaller coaster. The choice is yours. So hang in there. You want to watch this video. I have a great discount in the video, and I will give you the discount code for that. Plus I'll also tell you where to get 3 free quilting designs. I thought making a coasters to go with the placemats would be a wonderful idea. So I'm going to kind of walk you through my madness here and how my brain thinks. So my first coaster I made was this one. This one finishes at 6 inches, and it's basically the 6.5 inch block. And what I did was I just threw an envelope back on it. So let me tell you about that. So here is my block, the wrong side of my block finished, and here is where I put the envelope back over. So what I did was I measured the finished block, and the finished block measures 6.5 inches square. So what I did, and this is a rule of thumb on all these little envelope backs, what I did was I took a piece of fabric that was 6.5 inches wide, and I added an inch, 7.5 long, and then I folded it in half, and I did that with the second piece. And then you just simply put one up in one corner with the fold in the middle, and the other one at the bottom with the fold in the middle. Pin it in place if you need to. Yeah, I would pin it in place. And then when you go to your sewing machine, you're going to start up here by the fold, stitch your 1/4 inch all the way around. This way your fabric doesn't flip over. And you might want to do a little tack stitch here and here. And then when you, clip your corners when you're done, and, just turn it right side out, like such. You can use a chopstick or a pokey thing or purple thing or something to poke out those corners. And then you've got this ridiculously big coaster. I don't like this one because it's too big. I would not want that at my table. But if you want them from around the house for big coffee mugs or stuff, then that might work for you as well. Now normally I would just place the envelope back, this part of the backing on, and just back stitch, go back to the part of the embroidery design where the tack stitch tacks it down. But on this pattern, all the tack stitches are basting stitches, so that's not going to help you and it's not going to secure it, so you have to do that with your machine. So the second thing I did was I thought, well, this coaster is just too big, so I'm going to just go ahead and trim out off. I did the star and I thought, I got a little bit of room. I've got this 1/4 inch all the way around. I'll just trim it all down to I think this is 5.5 to about 5 1/4, 5.5. I thought that was a really good size. But then as soon as I made that first cut, I thought, well, darn, when I put my envelope back over it, particularly here, it's going to start covering up some of the quilting around my star. Don't like that as much. So, trash that one. So we were left with this one, and the design actually has a little swirly pattern in the center. I took it off on mine. I left it on one. I mixed up the colors. My thought on this is the red ones will go where the kids sit, and the pretty white stars will go where me and my husband sit, since we don't tend to spill stuff all over our coasters and stuff. So if you haven't seen part 1, you might want to go back and look at it, because we take the little hat from the Stars and Stripes pattern and we make it into a hot pad, and then we make it into a placemat as well. I still need to bind this one. And then I show you how to quilt, put all these stars and how to quilt everything. Now, like I said in part 1, the little star in the corner, this star with the little 3 stars around it, and the border star, those are all on our website. So what you want to do is you want to go to our web page. This is what the home page looks like. And then you want to click over where you see the pattern on the side. And then that will take you to what we call a product page, and right over here on the product page you will see where you can get the free designs for this project. But for this video class, I want to take you over to the machine, and I want to show you on the Baby Lock Solaris how I resized everything and made a much smaller coaster. So to start with, I'm pulling up the star design from the pattern, and after I pull that up, I'm going to add a design to it. So I'm going to return, and I'm going to add the quilting design that goes around it to it. And so let me just add that. There we go. It's called the Star Quilt. Now I'll set that, and I'm ready to embroider. Now, well, I'm in edit, but I'll be ready to embroider here in a minute. So the first thing I want to do is actually stitch out the design, the placement, and the tack stitch at a 6.5 inch like it's written in your program. I don't want to resize anything yet, because I found that if I keep the block and the batting 6.5 inches, it's really easy to trim it down. You just take a 1/2 inch off of all 4 sides. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is just stitch it out the first 2 steps as is. So let me do that. Let me turn my camera over to the screen and we can watch that. My star is going to be that blue batik, so I'm going to go ahead and just load my machine with blue top thread and blue bobbin. Forgot to thread the machine. The first thing that will happen is when I start the machine, it's going to give me a placement stitch, and this is just no-show mesh. This is all in your pattern. Alright, I'm just going to lay the batting and the fabric in the placement lines, and you really should probably tape it. I'm not going to do that because I'm a rebel. I'm just going to hold it with my fingers. You see in the what you probably just noticed with your tack stitches, that is that basting stitch that I was telling you about. That's why we can't put our envelope back and just backtrack to this step, because you'll just get a basting stitch instead of a real good firm stitch. Okay, now we're going to go back to the screen. Now the reason why we couldn't reduce, okay, so first of all you got to remember you have 2 patterns. You have the star and then you have the quilting. So those are 2 designs in your machine. So we have to think of this as 2 designs. And the first one is the star, and we do want to shrink it down, I think just a little bit. So we have these select arrows, and I want to select this outer edge because the star is part of the outer edge design. So that's how I know I have that. It also says up here it's 6.5 by 6.5, and that's where we started. So that's the star part that we want to shrink. So we're going to go into the edit function, and we're just going to hit the size, and we want to bring it in a little bit, and I actually want to shrink this down to 5.98. Okay, and then I can say okay. Now what that did was it also shrunk the outer side to 5.98, which is okay because we've already stitched that our 6.5 inch square down, so we don't have to worry about that. But what we do need to worry about is we don't want to stitch that outer edge again. We want to go into the star. So we're going to hit embroidery, and as you can see in my picture, it's showing me the outside edge, which I don't want, so I'm going to hit my advance through the stitches. So there's my placement line, my tack line. Hey, just to let you know too, anytime I digitize, my placement line is always blue, my tack line is always green. I'm very consistent about that. It's almost OCD for me. So you see blue and green together, you know applique or placement. The next step is my star placement, and again you see it's blue. So I'm going to go ahead and start my design here where the blue star starts. Now the next thing on the green is the green, the next thing on the screen is the green placement line. So that and your pattern walks you through this step by step by step. But so let's go over here to the fabric. I'm going to lay a piece of blue fabric over it, and I usually just use a long strip when I'm doing a lot of this stuff. You should tape it down, but once again, I am a rebel and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to remove the hoop from the machine, but I'm going to leave everything inside the hoop, and I'm going to take this over to a flat surface, and I'm going to trim away all this excess fabric. Alright, so the next thing is that little swirly design in the center of the star. If you don't want that, then just advance to the next stitch down. So that's what I'm going to do. You know what, I'm going to put it in. So let's stitch that out. Ready to quilt the quilt around the star. So what we need to do now to resize that, because remember, if we use it as it is the same size, when I make that 1/2 inch cut all the way around, I'm going to cut off part of the quilting, and we don't want that. So we're going to just say okay on our screen. We're going to return back to edit, and we're going to, under edit, we can select our design. So we want to go through and select the star. So remember, this one is the outside, and the star, when you hit the arrow and you just see the smaller square, that is our quilting design. So now we want to hit the edit button again and go to size, and right now you can see the size of this is 4.9 by 5.06. And we want to get it to where this first size is more like 4.5. So I'm going to hit it again. And 5.4 by 6.5. That looks good. I think that's where I have mine. Okay, so then now I'm going to go into embroidery. And again, I have to walk through all the steps. There's our out placement, tack, star, star. And now we're at the quilting part, and we can begin to quilt. Now before we quilt, I want to tell you I am using King Star metallic thread. Let me just bring the see up there. And I absolutely love this thread. I don't know if I've told you the whole story behind it, but I was doing a project that required metallic thread, and I had like 3 or 4 different spools of thread, and I tried 3 or 4 different spools, and each time I tried it, it was getting kinked up. It was, you know, doing this twisty, curly thing. It was breaking. It broke a needle, and each time one of the spools of thread did that, I'm like, I'm never using that thread again. I don't have time for this, and I just tossed it in the trash can. Well, by the end of that, you know, time period, I had thrown like 2 or 3 spools of metallic thread in the trash can. They were all different brands. So then the next day I go to this dime event with Ashley, and Ashley's telling me about this wonderful metallic Kingstar thread and how it's specially coated, la 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 la, and it won't twist and it just sews beautifully, yada yada yada. And so I'm just like, nah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying into this again. So when I did end up purchasing some software, and lo and behold, with my software I got a free spool of this thread. So when I decided, okay, I'll give the thread a try, I'll give it a try, and oh my gosh, ladies, this works so beautifully. I have made the perfect tree quilt. I stitched the whole thing in metallic thread, and I put it in the bobbin. I did it on all these placemats, and the thread went in the bobbin. This stuff is just amazing. Okay, so anyway, enough of me rattling on. Again, so it's ready to go. I think I've advanced. Let me make sure I've advanced to my first stitch. I think that is where it's at. It is. I'm going to go needle down. You know, why am I doing needle down, needle up? It doesn't matter. It's a placemat, or it's a coaster. Nobody's going to see it. Oh, just so used to that. So just cut those threads and let it continue on its way. Well, I'll have a really pretty back on this coaster. Finished. I've taken the coaster, the project, out of the hoop, and now what I'm going to do is I am going to go over to my cutting table, and not with this ruler, but I'm using this ruler because it shows you, it's a 1-inch ruler, and it shows you really well where a 1/2 inch is. So I like to use it for demonstration purposes. I am going to trim a 1/2 inch from the edge of the red into the square all the way around the coaster, 1/2 inch. So I've got my 1/4, and I got, well, a 1/2 inch from the red. So let me do that now. Okay, so there it is, all trimmed out, and let's see, this is finished at 5 1/4. Oh, let me, yeah, it finished at 5 1/4. So I'm going to cut. Actually, I cut this at 5 1/4 by 6 1/4 inches, and I'm going to put one where the fold is, one at the top, one at the bottom. I'm going to pin it in place, and then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch all the way around. I'm going to start here at this fold and then just go around. That way my fabric won't flip over on me. And there you have it. That's how you make a coaster. Roll over, roll over, roll over. No, that's amen, silly. Down, down, down. Down, lay down, down. Roll over, roll over, roll over, roll over, roll over. Roll